splendid good morning to one and all, wherever you are viewing or listening us from this morning. If you're via GBN TV, whether it's Channel 7, those of you who do regular television, yes, you try that little antenna up and you're viewing us from that vantage point. Good morning to you. So you're on Channel 7, Channel 11, or if you're on cable, Channels 20. Good morning to you. Thanks for being part of To The Point for today, Monday, the 17th day of October, 2022. Those of you who are viewing via terrestrial radio, let me take your time out also and say good morning, and certainly thanks for making us your choice in the morning time. I certainly appreciate that a whole lot, and thanks for making us take you through this morning. Just running into a slight issue here, so I will take master control. Give me one sec to have that rectified for some reason or the other, and we certainly will be back with To The Point. Something I've just lost some features here. Hope to get that rectified and come back. So stay with us 1 minute. We're just going to have that rectified as soon as possible and get back to you. Stay with us.
You've asked for it, and now it's here. The NLA announces its new mid-morning draw, commencing September 30th at 9:45 a.m. Yes, you heard right. Draws for Pick 3, Cash 4, and Playway will now be conducted 3 times daily at 9:45 a.m., 12:45 p.m., and 7:45 p.m., Monday to Friday. The Saturday draws remains twice daily. And that's not all. Simply place your non-winning Cash 4, Pick 3, and Playway tickets valued at least $10 from a single purchase in the NLA branded box at your favorite sales location for chances to win 10 prizes of $1,000 each. Whoa! $10,000 is up for winnings. Compliments the NLA. Be sure to write your name, address, and contact info on your entries before submitting. Promotion runs from September 30th to October 28th and would be drawn on Friday, November 4th, 2022. NLA, making your dreams a reality while supporting sports, culture, and nation building. Must be 18 or older to participate. Terms and conditions apply. See stores for details.
Raise it high up the ladder.
Folks are sweating, are really sweating. A break of sweat. Now, here's the reason why. Scholar decide he lose the marble, so he organize.
Certainly back with you, and an apology for that. You know, sometimes technology do fail us, and it seemed like that happened a little bit there this morning, but had it rectified. Once again, welcome back. It's To The Point for today, Monday, the 17th day of October, 2022. Wherever you're listening and viewing from, once again, good morning. Those of you via social media platforms, good morning. Whether it's Facebook, don't forget when you log in and to the program this morning, share the live. Those of you via, of course, our YouTube channels, we'll say good morning to you and continue viewing. And you know what happens on a Monday here on To The Point? We do have my guest host with me this morning. That's Mr. Sylvan Intyre. He's physically not going to be in studio with me this morning, but he's at the remote studio. And of course, I don't think it'll make any difference at all in terms of where he's located, in terms of disbursing information that we will be throwing out to you this morning. Folks, for the last couple of weeks, before I actually get him on, we've been discussing a whole lot, in terms of, ways in which you could, prepare yourself just in case there's an emergency. How do individuals respond just in case there's an emergency? We spoke a lot, of course, how to help individuals just in case a common injury occur. Emergency scenes, how you deal with that, how you manage it. The early care, the treatments, etc. All of that we dealt with, and it continues this morning. Just in terms of dispersing more information to you, our viewing and listening audience out there, just in case an emergency of the sort happens, what are the do's and the don'ts that you as an individual out there, you may not be in that strong medical field, but you can certainly help save someone's life by simple procedures that you could perform. And that's what we're here to do every a Monday, myself and Mr. Sylvan Intyre explaining that. Let's go over and say good morning to Sylvan. I hope I didn't take up too much of your time this morning. Good morning to you, sir. How you doing?
Yo, man. Good morning to you, GT. Good morning to the viewing, the listening audience, wherever they are. I think one thing that stood out very nicely this morning, I like your terminology of the terrestrial radio.
Yeah.
You give a feel of you're out there in the atmosphere, in the wide and wonderful in the Wild and Wonderful World, WW, and so forth. So I like the terrestrial terminology. I think it really fits the environment, letting people know that wherever you are, the information is on cloud in there, that you can access it, you can view us, you can listen to us. So once again, it is my pleasure to be here. It's always good. I look forward to Monday.
Yeah.
For the last couple of weeks, I really look forward to Monday, and I'm hoping as well that our audience, they're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I guess we've had some feedback again from our last program.
Yes.
Where people being saying how good and how useful it really is. As a matter of fact, I had a feedback this morning from someone saying that they're looking forward to what we are presenting today.
All right.
So usually we would speak, I think we set that kind of a tone, GT, that we sometimes speak about any current issue that we would want to give some clarity or add something on as it pertains to emergency, a disaster, or crisis, whether it is human-induced or human-caused, or whether it is caused naturally. We'll also chime in on that because people will get some information as well. In addition, I think last week, my apology to that caller who had asked on, I think, World Mental Awareness Day, he did ask for some ideas in terms of how we can deal with mentally ill people in times of emergency. So we're hoping that we can give a little bit of clarity on that this morning on this program.
All right.
As well. There was also a request from our audience for some audio, not necessarily audio, but they want some visual, so to speak. And we hope that the video that we created over the weekend, that we forwarded to the production team, that they are able to pull it up this morning. And so as we gonna focus more on the CPR issue, I think the action gives more than just 1,000 words.
All right.
So we're hoping that that is clear enough to be explicit, and most people, if not everyone, would understand the demonstration and they would get a little bit more from it. So today's focus would be on the CPR, and we will also speak on the cardiopulmonary resuscitation. We'll also speak on the recovery position, something that people need to see and practice a bit more.
All right. So as you mentioned in your introduction, we focusing a whole lot on CPR, and I have been focusing on it a whole lot from hearing you started talking about it this morning. And I do have a few questions I would like to ask, and
Sure.
you can. And I'm sure the viewed and listening audience out there will certainly concur with the questions I'm going to ask you all. So for start. What does CPR mean for that individual over there who's sitting and saying, I always hear people talking about perform CPR in that person. What does CPR stands for?
And one of the things I admire of you as a program host, you always hit it almost at the angles that we required. Obviously, if you're going to delve into anything, there need to be an explanation. And on every occasion, it should be pitched to the layman's level, where everybody could understand. So CPR is commonly used, and everyone CPR. So whenever I teach, and I would expose and ask the question, what do you understand by this? So it is really good to have this question up this morning. So CPR, abbreviated to mean cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Again, the C is for cardio, P is for pulmonary, and C is for resuscitation. Now, once the word cardio is used, it implies something to do with the heart. So you may have cardiac arrest, you may have cardiovascular, and so forth, and you may have cardiopulmonary. Obviously, once you hear that prefix, which is cardio, it simply refers to something with the heart. Mm-hmm. And we speak about pulmonary. There is that simply implies that there is a connection between the lungs and the heart. You have what is called the pulmonary artery, the pulmonary veins, and they actually the intricate link between the heart and the lungs. Obviously, we have the exchange of blood coming to and going from and so forth. So when we speak about cardiopulmonary, we are speaking of the heart and a connection with the lungs. And if we speak then of resuscitation, I usually give my students in this way. I said, resuscitation, what do you understand? So the new Minister of Agriculture says that one of his first priority would be to resuscitate the ailing vital banana industry. And everyone will jump up and say, oh, it means that he's going to revive the industry, he's going to bring it back. So absolutely, resuscitation means to bring back. So it simply means something that is done to the heart and the lungs to bring life or to recover someone. In essence, layman's term, cardiopulmonary resuscitation.
All right. And I still do have a follow-up question to that. I mean, I ask you, what is CPR?
Yes. So CPR really is a combination of rescue breath and chest compression.
All right.
In times past, the recent past, there was the breath that was almost mandatory, and there was the chest compression that was also mandatory. But there are a few things as the science evolved has taught us differently. And so while it is a combination of chest compression and rescue breath, one can now apply just the compression and you can get the same effect in terms of recovering someone who has collapsed. So the process of CPR, as I indicated, is doing chest compression and rescue breath. And obviously, the next question you may want to ask me, is there a ratio? Is there a certain amount that you should give? And is there some place that you should give it?
I certainly do have that question, but it's a little way down the line in terms of my question listed this morning. Now, what I would like to ask, for the benefit of listeners and viewers out there, when is CPR performed?
When is it performed?
Yeah.
So CPR is performed when there is a collapse of someone who appears not to be breathing and whose heart seems not to be beating. So the person collapsed, and obviously for you to find whether or not the heart is beating or whether or not someone is breathing, there has to be an assessment process to determine that the heart is not beating and the person is not breathing. Respiration is not occurring. So once that is suspected, the process of CPR should be applied. And the next follow-up would be, how do I know and how do I test to know someone's heart is not beating or they are not breathing? The last incident which we had that we spoke about on the bus terminus, and a few more other occurrences that we've had, what we've seen is people honestly moving to the scenes to help to perform some assistance. But what we're not really seeing is that process of an assessment of an evaluation. As I did indicate on previous programs, I would love to see more people practicing that process of checking someone, check for consciousness. How do I check for consciousness? Simply by tapping on the shoulder, rocking on the person, and asking or calling the name and saying, I am here, can you hear me? Can you hear me? I am here. If there is no response, then you do what is called an open airway technique. One of the techniques that one can use is called head tilt, chin lift. One would simply place either the left or the right hand on the forehead, tilt it backward, and two of the fingers, the index on the other, and you lift the chin upward. What this would do is cause the tongue to relax so that if the airway is blocked by the tongue due to that collapse situation, that it can basically open the airway and maybe that person will start breathing again. Once you've done that technique, there's the other process called look, listen, and feel. So where am I looking and what am I looking for? So one would kneel next to the victim, place your cheek and your ear close to the person's nose and mouth, and look down across the person's chest or right down across the stomach to see if there is any rise and fall of the chest or the stomach, and to listen for any sound that might be coming through the mouth or the nose. The cheek, you would recognize, is very, very sensitive. So the slightest air that comes through the nose or in the mouth for that matter should be detected from that person. So you look across again the chest to see if there's a rise and fall. You listen for any sound or feel for any air that might be coming from the person. There's an absence of that. In addition to that, you would take your fingers and place on the side of the person's neck, and you would check for just about not more than 10 seconds you're doing this assessment. You're checking to see whether or not there is a pulse. Again, you do not use your thumb because the thumb on your body has its own pulse, so that can give a false reading. So you use the index and the other finger next to the index finger, and you would just press it in on the side of the person's neck. There is a pulse or there is an artery that runs up the side of the neck. you want to touch on that to feel whether or not there is a heartbeat. If there's a heartbeat, there's obviously a pulse. An absence of this says that I need now to apply CPR. Right. I pause for your question.
let me ask this. You did mention that cardiac arrest is when CPR is needed the most. Am I correct by saying that? Now, what are the most common cause of cardiac arrest that will give rise to one wanting to use CPR?
Okay, great. So there are quite a number of either chronic or regular illnesses that can occur that can create a cardiac arrest, or in some common terms, a heart attack. It could simply be there is something called cholesterol deposits, and it's that stuff that build up in the artery. You have the coronary artery, and one of the arteries that leads to the heart and so on. That you will have cholesterol that sometimes is built up on that, and it restricts the flow of blood. Now, once the flow of blood is restricted or cut off suddenly, that person can go into a cardiac arrest, or they can shut off. Other causes could be simply the person can have internal bleeding, or they can have what you call a contused wound that can cause blood clot to move from one point to the other. And this is why at times the expert or the doctors would suggest that if someone has what seems to be a blood clot somewhere, that you do not massage it, because what can happen is that you can break that clot into smaller pieces. It can move from one point to the other, and some of the blood vessels or arteries can become blocked. And that can lead into some temporary shut-off or a period of unconsciousness. Now, when we speak of a cardiac arrest, it has to do directly with the heart failing to do or be able to perform its normal function. And its normal function is that of circulating blood around the body. Now, the heart is not just taking blood around. The blood that goes around has all of the nutrients that come with it from the body. It is being processed through the other organs, and it is taken into the bloodstream, and it goes around the body. So the heart acts as the pump. And I also use this illustration in that the heart acts like this main station, the main pump that sends everything around. And the blood vessels, they are the conduit, or what you call the tunnels, like you have a train going to the tunnel and there are different stops that this train needs to make. Similar, the blood vessels become those tunnels, and the blood is going through with all of the oxygen and all of the nice and rich things that you eat that will give nutrients to the body. It's carried through the bloodstream. And so if that is not allowed to go through, then there will be a collapse, because nutrients and the oxygen, that is essential. So that was a lengthy way of explaining what is a cardiac arrest. So you have a cardiac arrest, heart attack, or something which is called a coronary thrombosis. So a coronary thrombosis simply means that the coronary artery is blocked, and therefore the supply of blood cannot get to the points where it can get. And it is important to note, people tend to write off someone that has maybe a mild heart attack. Maybe somebody may be coming down with a stroke or otherwise, and they rule them off that once you have a heart attack or once one get a stroke, that they have to die. That is not quite true. It depends on the urgency and the effectiveness of the initial application. That would speak to whether or not that person survive or sometimes they die. So if somebody gets a heart attack, it could be for one of these reasons, whether it's a temporary block and it is restricting the blood from moving. If a person apply the compression, they get the heart to move manually, because the heart has its own mechanics that it would move naturally by. Now, if you begin to press on the heart, it becomes now a manual application where you are forcing the heart to perform in its normal function by you assisting it. So by giving those compression, you may tend to help push that block out of the way. It may not necessarily be a serious one, but if it is allowed to prolong, remember that a clinical state of death can occur between 4 to 6 minutes. And that is a golden opportunity to really, really save somebody's life. There are periods where people they would go off for longer than that, but we cannot say exactly when that process of clinical death may have started. Okay. But yes, if you apply chest compression or your intervention is very urgent, you can prevent a total loss of life or for that matter, when you have brain cells that begin to die after that 4 to 6 minutes, a person will lose their brain cells, and so brain cells are irreparable once lost. And so the areas of the body that is being served by that particular cell, that can be lost. So in some instances where a person is not treated early, they may either become speech impaired, they may not be able to sometimes walk properly or move their hands properly because that aspect was killed during the period when they went unconscious.
All right.
So I hope I have explained that process. It's quite a bit. I don't want to make it too complicated, but I want people to understand that when there is a heart attack or a suspect collapse, that there is an absence of either circulation or an absence of the circulation of oxygen itself. So there will be temporary or sometimes it goes permanent loss of consciousness. But that loss of consciousness doesn't mean that the person have to perish, that they have to die. We have to recognize that there is an intervention that every person should be able to make. And in my limited life on earth, I've seen it happen many, many times where that intervention was applied appropriately, and we've had people live to tell the success story.
All right. Interesting story there. And we did mention this morning that we do have some video demonstration that we'll be showing to our viewers this morning. I guess
you have it? You got it?
Yeah, we do have it. We will probably going to take a peek at it. But I have one more question before we take that break. Sure. And after the break, we're going to take a peek at that video. But the question I want to ask is this. Why is CPR important? Why is it important?
Yes, it is critical, and it is absolutely important because any opportunity for life. Who doesn't like life? I like living, and I guess every other person who has life appreciates life. And so it is important to apply or to learn CPR because it is another opportunity to help somebody to remain alive. And it's another opportunity for yourself because if I did not say it before, do you know, GT, that there are things that you can do for yourself to actually get resuscitated? You can do your own chest compression.
Is that possible? Is that possible? Is that possible?
Yes, it is very, very possible. It's a compression, and you can lean yourself against the edge of a table, at the edge of a counter, and you can press a couple times, pump a couple times, just by simply doing that. Just the chest at the diaphragm level, you can create some compression, and that might be just good enough to remove some blockage, might be able to get the heart moving again, and you can get somebody's life to be prolonged. So it is important that we understand that because, as I indicated before, it's an opportunity for life. It's an opportunity for living. And if people recognize it, I have termed it in my own way. It is the human life-saving machine, CPR, that doesn't need any mechanical instrument. Right. It just needs the hands, the mouth, and in most cases, just the hand could help somebody to live longer or to live until God called them home. Yeah. So that is the bottom line. I don't know how simpler I can express that CPR is important because a collapsed heart, a heart that is not beaten for a period of time, can be brought back. All it requires is enough of the nutrients, enough of the oxygen that is brought through the blood to revive one of the organs or all of the organs to just get that person moving, or to give sufficient time when the ambulance arrives or for the person to get to an emergency clinic, polyclinic, or hospital where they can be put on the mechanics of respirators and ventilators, etc., and they can live a normal life. Right. So that's the bottom line of understanding that CPR is a life-saving intervention that can bring the heart and the lungs back into action. All right.
And we drew for a break. We're going to take it. Sylvan, when we come back, we're going to take a peek at the video. I do have some more questions I would like to ask, because certainly it's an important topic this morning.
Yes.
And it certainly I do have a keen interest in it myself. So, I want to perform some CPR one of these days. I never know. So I'm trying to
learn as much. So we hope from the video that a lot of people will get some more. As a matter of fact, I got a little feedback from someone who has already seen it and said, man, I learned a lot from this. So let's look forward to hear what the feedback would be from our viewing audience.
Okay, so let's take that break, and when we come back, we move directly into the video. We're coming right back, folks. Stay with us.
Wednesday, 26 October, Hot 98 FM will be blazing the airwaves from downtown St. George's. Come join the fun, meet the Hot 98 team and some of our partners in front of the Esplanade Mall from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Great music, exciting deals, huge discounts, and enough giveaways from our partners and us. Stay tuned to Hot 98.5 FM. Like and follow our social media pages to find out more about Hot in the City. We will be coming to a city near you. Mark the date, Wednesday, October 26th. Hot in the City. Hot in the City.
This is why I'm hot. This is why I'm hot.
The National Insurance Scheme continues to make it easy to access our services using the MyNIS online platform. Now we're introducing a new feature that allows you to submit your benefit claims from the convenience of your smart devices. No paper, no hassle. All you have to do is log in to my.nisgrenada.org. Select claims, fill out the relevant information, and click submit. We'll take it from there. It's that simple and that easy. Submit a claim from the comfort of your home as you rest and recuperate. Enjoy the convenience of faster claim processing and monitor the status of your claim every step of the way. We are excited to introduce this new feature to better serve you. NIS is changing the game and the way you make your claim. Access anywhere and anytime with MyNIS Online.
Mingle and Jingle coming soon to all GBN platforms.
My granddaughter.
Let me say welcome back to our listeners and viewers this morning to The Point for today, Monday, October the 17th, within the year 2022. And I'm talking to Mr. Sylvan McIntyre. Of course, he's my co-host. He's with me here every Monday. You can look forward to the program of this particular nature, where you certainly get the information in performing the necessary tasks that could save individuals' life, and just in case there's emergency and that you need to perform certain tasks that can save an individual life. Sylvan, welcome back. So welcome back once again. And I did promise that when we do get into this, and I hope Master Controller have gotten that video queued up, and we could take a look at it. I'm not sure if you're able to view it from your advantage point. I hope you probably have your television on, because you're in your remote studios. You probably could take a peek at from a remote studios. But I'm going to ask Master Control to run that video, and so that the viewing audience could take a look at it. I will also have it on here, so I'm not sure if I haven't viewed it yet, so it's my first time going to look at it for myself. So Master Control roll, and then we come back with some more questions on CPR this morning. Master Control, if you're ready first, you can certainly go right ahead.
And control them along, and you can ask me certain aspect of that part that went, or as the case may be.
Sure. I certainly will do that. Let's go to the video.
CPR, abbreviated to mean cardiopulmonary resuscitation. It is a process or an activity that is applied to someone who suddenly collapses. There is likely to be an absence of a heartbeat, as well as the person may be believed to be not breathing. When this happens, the application of CPR is a combination of rescue breath and chest compression. There are three levels of persons that one will have to deal with when speaking about CPR. One is an infant, a person of 0 to 1 year. 2, a child, a person of 1 to 8 years, or in some instances modernly revised to 1 to 12 years. 12 and above, those persons will be exposed to adult application, and that's for first aid purposes only. For today's demonstration, we will be focusing on the adult, since in most cases adults are the persons who happen to be collapsing more frequently than any other. Alright, so what we're going to look at is how the process of CPR is applied to an unconscious person. So what I'm doing here, I am checking for consciousness to see if he's going to respond to me. Okay, I realize he's not responding, so the next thing I will do is do a head tilt chin lift, which is one of the techniques that is used for opening an airway. So I get to the side, I tilt his head backward, and I lift the chin. Now I look, listen and feel. Now I'm looking for the rise and fall of his stomach, and I'm listening to hear any sound or a feel of any breath that might be coming from his nose or mouth. No such thing is happening. I look onto his side, I take my fingers and I feel here to check for his pulse. In this case, you may have the carotid artery running right up along his neck, the side of his neck. So I'm checking to see if there is a pulse. I have had no pulse. I am not left with a choice than to try to resuscitate this person. The next thing I want to do is to find where the center of his chest is. I can either roll my hand up from his navel up, stop right at the xiphoid process or the sternal area. I take my other hand and now I find the center of his chest. I put my hand in the center of his chest, I locked my finger, lean over, hands locked, and I would press, and I am intending for an adult to press 1.5 to 2 inches deep. And I begin pressing, and I'm trying to do 100 compression in 1 minute. And I need to do this within a rhythm. So I go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 and 11 and 12, 13 and 14 and 15 and 16 and 17 and 18 and 19, 20 and 21 and 22 and 23 and 24 and 25 and 26 and 27 and 28 and 29 and 30. I will leave him in the recovery position. So the first thing you want to do with the recovery position, the hand which is closest to you, you put at a 90-degree position. The hand which is furthest away from you, put it right at the side of his face. I want you to hold this here for me. Okay? You'll be okay, son. And as you've just recovered. The hand which is, the leg which is furthest away, I lift it up. And I roll him this way. Put the foot down like this. Make sure the head is tilted backward. The chin is lifted so that we can maintain an open airway. So here's what it looks like on the other side. So the first thing that we want to do, the hand which is closest to me, I put in a 90-degree position. Look at this, 90-degree position, or I can extend it all the way up. One of two things here. The hand which is furthest away from me, I take across the face, and so when it turns, note carefully the back of the hand to the chin. All right. Then I get the knee which is furthest away, and I roll him towards me, and I support the body as I go, and I slide backward. Again, I get the foot, bring him out here. Okay, so in this case, the body is supported, the knees up a little bit, so that he can't roll. The head is tilted backward so that an open airway could be maintained. This is the preferred, the best, and should be the only way if you have to leave someone for some period of time while they either recover to near normal function or you are awaiting transportation to get them to second or advanced care. This position is called the recovery position.
Certainly is interesting information coming out from that. And what I have noticed from the video that I'd like to ask about, in terms of the position, that 90-degree position of the arm, and taking the other arm and putting it against it, what are the main reason for that? And even in terms of moving the legs and putting it in the particular position that you place them at, what's the real reasons for that?
Thank you for the question. But I would like to also put the question and the position into context before I give a deeper explanation. So once CPR is applied or someone has fainted, they may have had a mild stroke, they may have had a heart attack or otherwise, or they may have had an asthma attack, maybe an epileptic seizure, convulsive seizure, where they fell asleep and recovered, and you would want to leave them for a period of time. There is a position in which they should be left, and that is what we call the recovery position. Now, the reason for that is that if someone is left lying on their back, they can vomit, or what you say, regurgitate some stuff from within that can go up into the air, it can come back, and they can, what we locally say, stifle, or what we call asphyxiated. And so we prefer to have them on their side. If you leave them now lying flat on their belly, they may also vomit. And in the case of a person with epilepsy or a convulsive seizure, they may also salivate very heavy, or they may have a lot of saliva and vomit coming from their mouth. And that could be on the surface, and they can also be in a pool of blood or other fluid for that matter. And they can also suffocate, or they can asphyxiate, they can drown in it, or they can stifle in it locally, and they can die because they cannot breathe properly. Now, extending the hand outward, it opens up the organs of the lungs and the heart, so they are a bit freed up. If the hands is closed in into the body, it kind of restrict that movement a little bit more. So the extended arm outside there is, for one, to help free up the organ, and two, to give support to the head subsequently, so that the person's airway is maintained, it is left open, so that breathing can happen in a freer atmosphere. And that's the two fundamental reasons why you want to have the hands extended. Another one, if you wish to add, is that it adds some level of balance to the victim, and both hands and legs, they form that combination of giving us support for the victim lying on ground. You'll recognize the knee adds some support for the rest of the body, not necessarily rolling flat forward. And with the hand extended as well, the person is prevented from rolling completely over where the organs can get restricted. So that's the basis for the extended arm or the 90-degree hand level to aid the level or the process of breathing.
All right. One question also that came to mind during the demonstration this morning. I see you were doing in terms of the CPR compression. And
yes.
Now, what does the cycle of the compression consist of?
Now, there is a theory that says press hard, press fast. If you are going to press or compress the heart slowly, it means that the process of the movement of the blood that is going nowhere would be moving slowly. And this is why when somebody goes into shock, that the heart rate speeds up. So there is a rapid low pulse, meaning that the heart is working overtime, trying to compensate, or in some case overcompensate for the blood loss. So the heart is working really fast, pumping really hard, but low. So if you get a pulse, it's going to be weak. So the rhythm and the amount of compression that you're trying to give is to ensure that you're pumping fast, regular, and quick enough so that you can get the blood into circulation as quickly as possible. You'd want to go at as close to a normal heart rate as possible, but you'd realize that if the heart needs to do something, that's how the body's mechanism works. If you realize that you need more blood quicker, the heart rate will speed up. And that's why when some people are having particular problems, you realize that their heart start racing up, because the blood recognizes and the body recognizes that something is happening here, that we need to take some action to correct it. So you're trying to mimic that action of the heart by pumping hard and pumping fast. And what through the analysis of the expert, what they have recognized is if you pump at a certain rhythm, and this is at 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, you actually would pump at the rate the heart would go, the up and the lower. The one and it gives the up and it gives the middle part, so it goes up and come down. So you're actually going to the lobed up as to how the heart would normally beat. And if you pace yourself, and one can count it, if you try to get 100 compression within a minute, you actually would be moving at the average beat that the heart should be having. Regularly, the average person at rest they have to beat about 77 or 70 plus times per minute. So if you are pumping that kind of a rate, getting 100 within that minute, you're actually within the rate that they have to beat and giving allowance for the excess because there's a situation that you need more blood to be moving much quicker.
All right. You haven't mentioned this for the morning, but I'm just getting a question from someone who's listening to us, and they ask, and I hope it's within the range of the questioning that we're doing this morning. What does the CAB stands for?
The CAB. The CAB can come in any different abbreviation. I know that we use the ABC, which is airway, breathing, and circulation. I've used the BAC is breathing, airway, and circulation, or CAB, circulation, airway, and breathing. It means that the life-saving steps, once someone goes unconscious, an assessment has to be undertaken. You would look, in some instances we say DRABC, danger, airway, breathing, and circulation. So you look at danger to yourself, danger to the victim, and then you look at the airway. Is there an open airway? Circulation, whether or not the person's circulatory system is functioning, and the B is for whether or not that person is breathing. So that's the essence of the ABCs or the CAB, whatever order you would want to put
All right. Well, interesting. I think that the answer came along just the direction I think they wanted to hear. I have one other question. I will have one other question I would like to ask. In terms of recommendation from your experience, and you being someone who's vastly educated in terms of CPR and so forth, what is recommended for an untrained bystander to do if they witness a cardiac emergency?
And this is one of the foundations for this program and the series of what we're conducting here. And we're hoping that it's not gonna die any form of death at all, whether it's painful or sudden. But the need for us to inform more people is really timely and it's really critical. I want to reassure members of the public that if you're not fully trained in first aid, there's still something that you can do. Because I've had instances where at least one person gave me their story of not remembering the amount of compression that they should give. One thing the young man did remember is that it had to be given in the center of the chest. And so he went on and gave the chest compression and gave the rescue breath. And his cousin is fully alive today, a person that was pronounced dead or believed to be dead at the time when they drew him out of water. So the process actually worked. So even if you're not fully trained, regrettably, we've seen, and forgive me, I will come back to this, we've seen even that situation over at the Concord waterfall. I am comfortably assured that if someone knew a bit more about first aid, maybe we could have had at least one of the young men alive today. Yeah. Because once somebody is brought out of water and the process of compression is applied, not so much even the rescue breath, you can get that process of a suction happening, and it can cause the movement to commence in between, where with the compression it pushes things in and out, up and out, and so it would have gotten out and sometimes clear the airway to an extent. So if somebody understands the proper application, the placement of the hand, and the depth of the compression, sometimes even not even so the depth, because sometimes you don't actually, if you're not a trained person, understand the level of pressure you should put in to get the 1.5 to 2 inches. But once you are able to apply compression to the center of the chest, press downward, press with a particular rhythm, press fast, press hard, you very likely would have some success in getting that person to be recovered or getting the heart to beat again. or you can keep that person's life prolonged until the emergency help arrive on the scene. So don't be scared, bystanders or otherwise. Trust yourself that trust the skill that there is an opportunity for everyone to remain alive. You don't need all of the air in your body to be alive, but you need all of the air that needs to be in the body to function properly. Similar, the 6 liters or the 1 to 2 gallons of blood in the body, you don't need all of it to function or to stay alive, but you need all of it to function properly. So if we understand those 2 principles, that if I can do something to help somebody to breathe, I can save their life. If I can control bleeding on a bleeding person, I can just keep enough blood in the body to keep the vital organs alive until expert help arrive, I can save somebody's life. So for me, and I hope for everyone, we would like to give everybody an opportunity to live. And the way to do that is to try to do CPR and to try to control bleeding where there is a wound and where a person has collapsed, where you suspect the heart is not beating, the lungs is not functioning, that you're able to breathe for them and to give them chest compression.
All right. Certainly interesting there. So we'll be due for a break. Let's take it. Final 10 minutes of the program coming. You know, time always flies on us. You know that. Let's take that break. We come back. We're probably going to entertain some phone calls. I may do have another question or two we will drop in and as we move along this morning. Folks, we're taking a break. When we come back, as I mentioned, we're going to take your phone calls. If you do have a question that is along the line of the program this morning, we certainly will entertain it. We're coming right back.
You mentioned the wing high, then you have things like man, you must come back, you know. We have the low power there.
When you push your jump, it is kind of like the same man, and it's just different name for the same kind of thing.
And last but not least, I just want to say to all the men who saw me, call me, and ask for a piece of cake. I'm baking this weekend.
Join us Fridays at 8 on GBN Television, K105 FM, GBN's Facebook page, and YouTube channel for We Culture. Wednesday, 26 October, Hot 98 FM will be blazing the airwaves from downtown St. George's. Come join the fun, meet the Hot 98 team and some of our partners in front of the Esplanade Mall from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Great music, exciting deals, huge discounts, and enough giveaways from our partners and us. Stay tuned to Hot 98.5 FM. Like and follow our social media pages to find out more about Hot in the City. We will be coming to a city near you. Mark the date, Wednesday, October 26th. Hot in the City. Hot in the City.
This is why I'm hot. This is why I'm hot, 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 hot.
Best.
Welcome back once again to our viewers and listeners this morning to The Point for today, Monday, the 17th day of October. And once again, you know what happens on a Monday here. Myself and Mr. Sylvan Intyre. Of course, we try to give you loads of information that you could use. The information we share with you just in case there's an emergency. And I did mention in this segment we will take a couple of your phone calls, one times permit. I want you to keep your question within the conversation this morning. We certainly will entertain it. The number you can call, that's 435-2041. That's 435-2041. That's the number if you do have a question that you would like to ask. And so when I had a question I want to ask, but I see there's a call coming in, so let's entertain this caller first. Caller, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, my brother. What I want to ask I want to know if you know something about asthma. And And then I want to know if he's attached to the Red Cross member. So because some of what he show and talk about in the Red Cross member, in the thing, I know it's in the Red Cross member, and I used to suffer with it.
All right. Thank you so much. Let me see if we can answer you, okay? All right. All right, Sylvan. Yeah, wonder if you can
Thank you, caller. Yes, I can say something really quickly about asthma. Now, asthma is a respiratory problem. There is no known treatment for it, but there's medication that can actually relax the walls of the air passage. It is something that is brought on by a trigger, and so there's little that you can do except the person is being nebulized, or they have a nebulizer that is brought on so that they can, a nebulous is being put into that machine so that it's a medication, as I said, that relaxes the walls of the air passage. But what one can do for someone who is diagnosed with an asthma or comes down with an asthma attack is to ensure that you create the clear breathing space, restrict or limit anything that is restricting the breathing, like from the neck, the waist, etc. Ensure these things are loose. The room where they are, you either remove the things in the room or remove them from the room so that the air becomes clearer. And what is easier is not to have them lying or dropping to the ground, is to have them have seating so that you can aid them in being able to breathe, support them. Eventually, if it becomes very serious, they may collapse, they may go to the ground. If that is the case, observe them carefully. For unconsciousness, they become unconscious, be prepared to resuscitate. But a person with an asthma attack, 3, 4, 5 minutes is considered serious, and they should see a doctor. I want to stick a pin here for people who are diagnosed with asthma. They're usually prescribed one of those inhalers. You have the Bicotides, you have the Ventolin, and so forth, and different types of inhalers that the doctors would prescribe. What happens in our society is that once somebody comes to that attack, you may hear somebody is asking who has an inhaler. We want to place this here that it is dangerous to use somebody's inhaler on another person. It has worked, it can work sometimes, but the time when it does not work is when somebody can get into trouble, because a particular medication does not mean that it would work the same on every person. It is particular and it is specific to the person to whom it is being prescribed. So you want to be cautious. Okay. That person may have a reaction, a serious allergic reaction to something that is prescribed for someone else that you administer to them. So we want to be careful with that.
So we do have another caller. Let's see if we can contain that caller. Caller, good morning, welcome.
Yes, good morning. Morning to Mr. Sylvan.
Morning.
Morning to you, GT.
Yes, sir. There's a radio in your background or something of the sort. Please lower it.
Now, would you say that if people get involved in more deep breathing exercise, that could help to prevent them from getting this type of collapse?
Breathing exercise. Let me just answer quickly. Breathing exercise is always healthy. Yes, even people who were diagnosed with COVID-19, they were advised to take breathing steps, hold their breath for a while to figure whether or not there is some restriction. The regular breathing exercise, it strengthens the walls of the respiratory system, and it helps to clear up sometimes difficulty, and it gives you an understanding as to where your breathing is actually. So breathing exercise is really good. The Chinese and other persons in martial art, they use it quite a bit as a therapy and as an exercise to ensure that the respiratory system is functioning properly.
All right. Before we entertain another caller, we do strap for time. I just want to ask this one question. I was trying to get it in, but sometimes I let you explain a whole lot and didn't get that question in. What is the best time to administer CPR? Or you would say, what is the best time to administer it?
There is, can I say there's a best time? There is a time once you suspect someone is collapsed or has collapsed, and you've done an assessment, and there is no evidence of heartbeats and there is no evidence of breathing, you should administer CPR. There's another instrument, we spoke about it on the program before, an automated external defibrillator, an AED. I did say it before that every place that has people at a particular number should have an AED. So once a heart or somebody collapses, and you check for pulse, there's an absence of pulse, and you realize you can get an AED applied to them, and that will give them a sudden shock or a jolt, and that can get the heart running again. So one of the things that our society needs to get used to is having AEDs established in public places so that we can have access to them. It works along with CPR with the individual, but it can also work on its own. It's an incentive, or it's an added component to helping the process of CPR and recovery.
All right. Sylvan, I hope I'm not sure if you want to give just a quick recap of all we have gone through this morning pertaining to CPR, just to re-highlight some of the key points before we take a wrap this morning.
Yes, CPR is known as cardiopulmonary resuscitation. It is applied when someone collapses and they are unconscious, their heart is not beating, or they are not breathing. It is a process of chest compression and rescue breath. You do 30 compression in the center of the chest with 2 breaths, with 2 hands for an adult. If it's a child, you do 1 hand, and if it's an infant, you use 2 fingers. Same position, same amount of compression, same amount of breath. It's just that the depth for the infant, the child, and the adult, it differs. The only thing is that if you're going to breathe in the child's mouth, your mouth must cover the nose and mouth of the infant. So I encourage everyone, you may not be an expert in first aid or CPR, but understanding that if you notice somebody collapse, you do an assessment, you recognize that they're not breathing, their heart is not beating, it costs you nothing than to make an effort to give them chest compression and rescue breath. Remember, it's the center of the chest. Give 30 compression and 2 breaths. And you would do this until you become too tired to continue. Then obviously you can't. You will stop when experts arrive, for instance, the ambulance or help arrive, or you will stop when the person recover and is breathing normally. Once you are awaiting transportation or movement of the person to one place to the other, remember, do not leave them lying flat on their bellies or on their back. Put them on their sides. One of the legs pulled forward, hands underneath the head tilted slightly backward in the position called the recovery position.
All right, Sylvan, I want to thank you once again. Always interesting information from you, and we do this next Monday. Until then, folks, I want to thank you who are part of this morning, all who may have contributed one way or the other, whether you are called in or you viewed or you sent your comments via the WhatsApp or the Facebook comment section. I want to thank you so much. Join us again for another edition of To The Point. That will be tomorrow. Have yourself a great day, folks.